welcome back to Modern Rock 91.5, where music begins. This is Mic'd Up in the Morning. We are going to be joined now by a good friend of mine, Brad Galli, who joins us from Channel 7 on the road. He's going to be talking to us about a little Lions football, which we're excited about. So let's see if we can get Brad on the air. Brad, you hear us?
Yeah, guys, how you doing this morning?
Very good. Thanks for joining us. Happy to have you as always. I want to start, as we said, that you've been doing a lot of Lions coverage this year. You've probably seen the team closer than anyone around town. Can you just start by talking about the 6-2 start, what you've seen, up close that's gone right for them, maybe a key reason why it's gone well and they have been able to start 6-2, and just a general vibe throughout the team. Just kind of start with that.
I'll start with actually the last part of your question, the general vibe of the team. They started off 4-0. Obviously, losing 2 straight wasn't a good way to go. Or starting 5-0, and then losing those 2 in a row wasn't exactly the way they envisioned the next 2 going. But to finish the first half of the season at 6-2, I was curious. I asked one of the guys that travels with the team. I said, "What was the mood like on the plane after they absolutely pummeled Denver?" And he said, "You know what? It was subdued. It was quiet, because Lions teams in years past would celebrate a win like that in such dominant fashion. These guys got on the plane, and it was business as usual." And I said, "Are you exaggerating at all? There was no hoot and holler?" He said, "Well," he goes, "you know what it was like in the locker room? There was some music playing, a couple guys dancing. But when that music went off and they boarded the bus to go to the airport, done. Completely done with that game, and kind of just resting easy." And I think that speaks volumes to the character of this team, because there are so many veteran guys in the team, and even the younger guys have veteran minds and veteran presences that it's a different feel than Lions fans are used to around here. And I think to finish at the halfway point the way they did, with 6 sacks, their first breakout game on the defensive side of things, with Stafford connecting on all cylinders this past game after kind of struggling for 2 games. I think they're at the break, not exactly where they want to be on all facets of the game, but I think closer than they were the 2 weeks before that, and I think they've got to be pretty satisfied where they're at right now.
Yeah, I think you were about to touch on it, and you kind of did with the Denver win. Just real quick, re-emphasize how important it was to get that win against Denver after losing 2 in a row at home. Probably, I'm sure, as you felt, the city nervous about this team after starting 5-0, losing 2. Is it the same old Lions? Blah, blah, blah. If you're a member of the media, you probably get sick of hearing the same old things. But how key and important was getting even a blowout win? How important was that to really solidify the legitimacy of the Lions in 2011?
I think it was huge, Mike, to go on the road and just completely beat up on a team right from the get-go that you're supposed to beat. That shows that this team, is at least doing that right. They've beaten up on teams they've had to beat up on, like Kansas City, like Denver, and just absolutely put them away early and keep it on. I mean, this team has shown they can play in the second half with anybody all season long, and that's got to be something impressive to look at. They're not going to fold and crack down the stretch. But, yeah, to pick up that win on the road against a Denver team that became the media darling, and I'm a Tebow backer through and through. I think he's a winner, but that's a topic for another day and another time. I think he's a winner, and I think that win that they had over Miami the week before had a lot of people saying, well, maybe Tebow will turn the tide for Denver. So no one really knew what to expect from that Broncos team, and the Lions kind of showed, well, hey, this team in Denver is not very good. We're a lot better. And I guess to leave no questions about this team after that game was kind of nice, and a nice breath of fresh air. When we walked into the locker room on Monday, when the guys were back, you could tell the sense was pleased as they went into the break. I asked a few of the guys, what are you doing for vacation? And Nate Burleson joked around. He's like, I'm going to be somewhere where my feet are going to be up with some flip-flops, and I'm going to have an umbrella in my drink. And Sammy Hill was saying, I just want to be home. I'm not a homesick guy, but it's just going to be nice to get away from football, because they've been pouring it on so hard. And I think that Denver game was just like a come to fruition of all of their efforts. So to be where they are at the break, there's satisfaction, but they know there's more to go in these next 8 and possibly 9, 10, 11, 12 games.
Hey, Brad, this is Kyle Sislowitz here. I just want to get your quick take on the meeting Ndamukong Suh had with the commissioner. And, what do you take away with the meeting he had talking about what was implied as late hits and whatnot.
Well, he came back. Good to hear from you, by the way. He came back from the meeting and said basically without saying it, he's stronger, faster, more powerful, more agile, and more talented than any defensive tackle that's ever played this game. And he might have a point there. I mean, he is something this league hasn't seen out of a rookie or a second-year guy in quite some time, and possibly at that position in a really long time. And time will tell what his longevity will be, what his impact on the game will be. But so far, he's proven that he is a very unique, special talent. And I think the way he described it, and it kind of does make sense. He talked about Tom Brady and people talking about the hits on Tom Brady, and you expect something different when Tom Brady's in the game. Will he get a call because it's Tom Brady and he can evade a hit so well, and because it's Tom Brady? What kind of way will the refs deal with him because it's Tom Brady? Well, he's saying, hey, replace that on the other side of the ball with because it's Ndamukong Suh. He's like, I'm getting special treatment because I'm different. And again, he was evading the fact that I'm better than everyone is what he wanted to say. So I think him making that effort is something. He really wasn't. I mean, obviously he's made a few perhaps foolish hits of grabbing face masks and pushing people after the play. But what he was doing was really just playing football. Right. And I think his image was tainted the most. And I think for him to reach out to Goodell and say, how can you help me, only helps his image. And I think, really, I mean, his football skills, football sense, football opinions from people around the league didn't change much. I mean, he's a great player that people have to stop every week. But his image was the number one thing, I think, that worried him, worried Lions fans, worried the team without them saying it. So for him to go address that, I think his image has been rehabilitated just a little bit. And I think that was probably the most important thing, because I think it got overblown a little bit over the course of the past 8 games.
Hey, Brad, this is Jeremy Erskine here. Just talk about Tolick here. He's being accused of crossing the line from Tebowing. He came out and said, hey, it's just a fad. I wasn't mocking the guy. It's just something fun to do. Did you get the vibe that he was being disrespectful, or did the media definitely overblow this?
Steve, I think it's a story for people to talk about when there's no football to talk about for the week. Tebow came out, I think it was yesterday, and just said, hey, there's nothing to even rise above. I'm just going to say it was something he was doing out of fun. He made a good play, and he's having fun with his teammates. And if that's not the best way to talk about this whole thing, I mean, that's another reason why I like that Tebow guy, man. He is everything talk radio, and not to put you guys or me or media or anything else like that down, but he's everything talk radio, and strong negative opinions are not. I mean, he just says, hey, the guy's having fun. If you really want me to talk about it, this is what Tebow said. He goes, I didn't evade the sack. I didn't get out of the way of the tackle. That's on me. He goes, that's what I'm mad about. I'm not mad about him Tebowing or kneeling down or whatever. Would I have done it? Probably not. I know I wouldn't have. But, Tulloch's been having a pretty darn good season. And, again, just having fun with his team on the defense. And I think another thing that got way overblown. But it's a story. It's something fun to talk about. I don't know. What's your opinion on that? What do you guys think about that?
I think it's cool to well, first of all, I think it's refreshing that you have the opinion of Tebow that 99% of America, or it seems at least, doesn't. So yeah, I think that it's cool that Tebow is so cool with it. That he doesn't make a big deal about it. He's happy to participate in the fun. So I didn't get any negative vibes from it. It's refreshing to hear someone not be so negative on Tebow. Is my take on that.
I don't know if it's 99%. There's quite a few of us out there that like Tebow and support him. I'd say it's a good, at least 50-50 split. Your opinion is your opinion, Mike. Your numbers.
The haters are a lot louder than the lovers.
That is a good point. That is a very good point.
Yeah. So going back to this Tebowing fad, do you think it's just because the Lions have been labeled a dirty team? Like, this is their image. They're the new bad boys in Detroit. So people are just looking, for reasons to bash us.
You know what? I've watched this team. I've watched every play this season. I've watched practice closely, talking with the guys. The bad boy image is kind of laughable, and they kind of laugh it off too. I don't know what it is, and a few of them have commented and just said, we're a good defense. I don't know if that comes with being bad or what it is, but they're just a good defense. They're a good team.
Yeah.
And so they're being labeled as the bad boys. I don't know what it is or why people think it's dirty, and I understand the whole, sue with the personal fouls. That's given people some merit to their discussion and their branding, but they're just a good defense. And I don't know if people are pointing fingers at them for being dirty or for being bad. I think more or less it's just people talking about them because they're a strong defense. And I think people have their reservations of anointing this defense as one of the best in the league yet. And, of course, some people do when they throw it out there, but people have seen this. I mean, what was it, 5 years ago, this Lions team was 6-2 at the break again, beating a Denver team in blowout fashion. So people are not exactly around the nation quick to jump on the Lion bandwagon just yet because, I mean, quite frankly, they've failed for 60 years. Right. So I think people anointing this defense as a great defense is, something that'll happen soon. But for now, people just kind of have the reservations of just calling them, well, they're that dirty bad boy team. And you know what? The team's kind of absorbing that and kind of saying, hey, call us whatever you want. We know what we are, but, we'll take any nickname you've got.
Brad, can we talk about the NFC North for a minute? I think it's one of the best divisions in the NFL. I think a lot of people are starting to notice that and probably are agreeing. Right now on ESPN, the power rankings have the Packers as number 1, Lions is number 8, and the Bears is 10. So you got 3 of the 4 teams in the top 10 in the league, and the Vikings, aren't that far behind. They're at 22, I think, last time I checked. So do you think this division is winnable, first of all, with the best team in the league playing in it? And, what's your take just so far on how the Lions have fared? They played the Bears once. They beat them on Monday night. They got them coming out of the break. They played the Vikings on the road and beat them. Obviously, that was a game that they very easily could have lost, being down by 20 points. So just your take on the NFC North up to this point in the season.
You make great points about all of them, Mike. I think Soldier Field's a tough place to play. I think that'll be a tough environment for them to come back off the break. But I think the bye week helps them going in there. Matt Forte, what the heck, right? This guy playing for a new contract. He comes out yesterday and says, if Chicago's not going to pay me, I'll go find another place to play eventually. Right. Unfortunately for him, I think he's kind of stuck in Chicago making, I guess in NFL terms, a low wage. But he's been fantastic in just carrying that team. I think a lot of people expected Green Bay to be where they are, maybe not even as great as they are. I expected them to be good, but not great. I think they win the division going away. I think they go 14-2. 13-3, and I think the Lions drop a few more down the stretch. And I think the Lions will finish second. I don't think the Bears team top to bottom is as stacked as Detroit is. I think both of those teams still have flaws and still have holes. I think Green Bay top to bottom is still the most solid team in the league, and we haven't seen that in years past, since maybe New England a few years ago, of a Super Bowl champion coming back as strong as Green Bay has. And again, we all knew they'd have guys coming back that were hurt down the stretch for them, but I think Green Bay is the cream of the crop in the division. I think the Lions are just a few steps behind, maybe a year and a half behind where Green Bay is in collecting talent and building an environment like they've got up there in Wisconsin. But Chicago is dangerous. Chicago is a very dangerous team because their defense is always strong. Their running game is so strong, and we've seen the Lions' inability to stop the run this season and the Lions' inability to run the ball this season. So I think if you run into a Chicago team next week, that's going to be tough to stop. Say it's a cold environment, that never bodes well for a team against Chicago. I think Chicago still finishes just a hair below the Lions. I think it's a tight battle. I think both teams will be fighting for that wild card down the stretch. Before the season started, though, and just to kind of wrap up the NFC thought here, or NFC North thought, I thought Minnesota would challenge Green Bay for the division even more so than Detroit. But, I think they're kind of not in a rebuilding stage because you're never really rebuilding in the NFL. You're always kind of reloading with the parity of the league. But that's, again, a team that can play spoiler all season long and a team that'll kind of float around and flirt with some wild card hopes maybe down the stretch. But, at best they finish 9-7, 8-8, probably 7-9. But Ponder, man, he looks good for their future, huh?
Definitely. Just a quick thought, we're in the month of November now. I don't know if it's too early to start thinking about this, but we could have possibly one of the best Thanksgiving games ever. Possible outcomes could be Green Bay could end up going in there 10-0, and the Lions could be 8-2. What would it mean for, I guess, just like rebuilding the Lions' reputation, I guess, on Thanksgiving in the past however how long they've been so bad. What would it mean for the Lions to beat the Packers on Thanksgiving Day?
I mean, they've taken a lot of heat in the past for that game, and especially in the past few years of people calling for them to be removed from that game. And I just think, you saw the atmosphere. You could hear the atmosphere. The nation turned their eyes to the atmosphere of Ford Field on Monday Night Football when they beat the Bears. For good reason. That place was rowdy as all can be, man. It can only be just even on a bigger stage on that Thanksgiving game because, Mike, if you want to go back to your 99% you got up earlier, 99% of households around America are going to have that game on, and especially like you were saying, if they're 10-0 and 8-2 going into that game, that's if the Lions are 8-2 at that point, Green Bay's 10-0, say they're 9-1, you're playing for first place in the division or pretty darn close to it, knowing that you have that game on January 1st down the stretch, maybe a tiebreaker and maybe the capping point of the season to see who comes away with the North. I think that game, if the Lions continue to do what they're doing, and I think they can against Chicago next week, that game can be very special. And I think if you're going to talk about rehabilitating their image, that's going to go a long way to doing it because that's maybe the point where people stop talking about the dirty and start talking about the great. That's the kind of game that can really make or break. I guess again that image of this Detroit Lions team because they're going to be what they are, but that can be a huge image booster if they can come away from that Thanksgiving game unscathed.
We're talking with the Brad Galli, Channel 7 sports reporter here on Mic'd Up in the Morning. Brad, I want to get your updated prediction. Earlier in the season, we talked to you before the actual regular season started, I think following week 4 of the preseason. You predicted 9-7 and a wild card berth for the Detroit Lions. Do you want to revise that now, or are you standing firm that 9-7, you're not looking too bad? Wild card spot you predicted, so I think you weren't the only one predicting a successful season for the Lions with a lot of hype coming into the season, but you predicted on our airwaves that they would take that wild card spot. So any revisions in the prediction up to this point?
Yeah, I think I'd have to do that. Jim Schwartz sat down with us the other day, and your former boss, Michael, and my boss, Don Shane, said, "Well, 6-2, that translates to 12-4, right?" Jim Schwartz said, "No. Let's not do that, Don." I think 12-4 is a stretch. 9-7 is too low. I think it's safe for them to say that they're going to go 4-4 down the stretch. I like 10-6. I think they've got a tough second half schedule here. You never wish injuries upon a team, but you've got to expect that they're going to hit them. And so far, other than maybe Justin Durant and Stafford's ankle a little bit, they've been pretty blessed with injuries. So you don't like to live scared and think that this could happen. But I like a 10-6 finish. I like 4-4. Not reeling into the playoffs, but definitely not flying into them. 10-6, a wild card berth for sure, and maybe on upset alert in that first round.
All right, Brad, we want to get a couple more thoughts on you before we hit the 8 o'clock hour here. Our clock's running a little bit behind yours probably, so no rush on this. But moving away for the Lions for a minute, you've been covering a lot of high school football this year. As big as Michigan high school football is down in the southeast part of the state, it's pretty big up here in Mount Pleasant, too. There's a lot of good teams in mid-Michigan. We've been covering Ithaca, Clare, Mount Pleasant High School, all teams that are ranked very high in their respective divisions. Now, granted, that's 5 or 6. So, from your take on Division 1 and 2, what you've been covering, is there a team out there that you've covered this year that you think is a shoo-in to win the state championship as we get into the second weekend here of high school playoffs? The cream of the crop starts to rise now at this point. What have you seen from the playoffs so far, and who are you expecting to make a splash?
I never call anything a shoo-in, especially in high school football, but Farmington Hills Harrison, they're around the country ranked top 10 in most every poll or whatever the experts want to say. They're a team to beat, and they're going against my former high school, my proud high school brother Rice this upcoming weekend, and that's going to be a tough one for Rice. I think this Harrison team all season long has proven how strong they are in Division II. They're always solid. Unfortunately for the Warriors of Brother Rice, I think they're going to, if they get past Rice, which they had a tough time doing last year in the first round on their way to a state championship, if they get past Rice, I think it's clear sailing for their state championship hopes. They've got a ton of D1 prospects on their team, And I think out in Division I, I think Catholic Central is not as good as DC teams in the past. But what's that?
So that's what I wanted to hear. Mention my former high school. We got to get
Yeah, I know. They look pretty darn good, man. I went down to watch that Brother Rice CC game. Again, they're not as strong as they have been in years past.
Okay.
But they're big. They're always big. They got those wrestlers on the line. I don't know if they're the team to beat, but they're definitely the team that I think is going to come away with the Division I title this upcoming year.
Who's their biggest challenge in Division I? Is it Eisenhower, or is there someone else?
I don't know if the Eisenhower team's that strong. I mean, they beat up on Dakota in an impressive fashion last week, but I think there's a Dakota team that was kind of fading and kind of not throwing in the towel, but definitely realizing how good Eisenhower was. I don't know if they're state championship contenders. There's a tough run up and down the middle. There's a lot of different teams in the playoff this year. That's what I like about it. There's a lot of names that you see in there that you haven't seen in a while, or that are there but haven't been as strong. Our game of the week this week, the Meyer High School game of the week for Channel 7, is in Clarkston against Wall Lake Central, and that's a team we covered from week 1 that lost their first game in unfortunate fashion. I mean, they got blown out. And I talked to their coach after that first game. I said, we'll see you down the stretch. He goes, we'll be back. Wall Lake Central will be back. And that's a team that in years past has always just kind of been there and just kind of been your first-round fodder, just getting knocked out.
Uh-huh.
They're back. This is the second round, and I think they're not the favorite tonight, but they're my pick tonight. And that's kind of cool to see. I like seeing different teams in college and the pros, and especially in high school, getting a chance and a taste at that title. So that's been the most refreshing thing of covering this high school football season.
You think Rockford still has a good shot to win D1 possibly because they're in it every year? I know they have a tough game against Grand Ledge this week, but what do you think about their chances? Just curious standpoint.
Rockford is always, one of those teams that's just always hovering around the top 5. I think they win this week, and I think, it's interesting. Those second-round matchups are always tougher than the third-round matchups for the top teams, and I think that happens for Rockford this week. I think it's a tough matchup for them, but I think they go away and win comfortably next week. Then you're looking at semifinals, and that's a team that's just built with veteran players, and I like their chances of this season.
All right, Brad, we want to get you out of here on this, and it's kind of a light note. I know you're a music fan, you're an entertainment fan outside of sports, and you have to be, if not shocked, at least surprised to hear the news that, I'll say it on the air, one of your favorites, Justin Bieber, out there may be a father. Maybe your thoughts are going away on the situation that came up, in the last 24, 48 hours.
Yeah, I am a big Bieber fan, and
Bieber fever.
I was driving to go see my girlfriend in Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm.
The past couple of days, I had my couple of days off, and Don Shane, our boss, called me and said, "Well, hey, listen to what's broken on the air, blah blah blah." Justin Bieber. These things have happened before, both ways. If it's true, if it's false. So we'll leave it to see what happens with the truth. And I don't know if we'll ever know the truth, but I will tell you this. I picked up his Christmas album, went out and made a purchase.
How'd you like? Did you listen to it yet?
I have not stopped listening.
Oh, is it that good? I was wondering.
No, I'm telling you, man. And this may sound kind of goofy to you guys, but that NSYNC Christmas CD from a few years ago,
yeah,
that's built full of jams for Christmas. This is pretty similar. This has got a lot of upbeat ones, and he actually got Mariah Carey to sing a duet of "All I Want for Christmas Is You," the one from her album that's like one of the most popular Christmas songs of all time. He samples it with her, and they're singing. I think they just finished wrapping a music video yesterday. So the kid's talented, man, and he makes some good music, and this Christmas CD is no exception. It's pretty darn good. I'd suggest picking it up.
All right, Brad, we can't thank you enough for coming on once again, sharing your thoughts on Detroit sports. We always love to hear from you here on Modern Rock 925 on Mic'd Up in the Morning. So thanks again. All the best of luck to you the rest of the season, and who knows, maybe we'll be talking at the end of the regular season into the playoffs. We can only hope.
Anytime, guys. Thank you so much. Love Mic'd Up in the Morning. Best show in Mount Pleasant. Let's go.
All right, bye-bye.
Thanks, Brad.